The movie literally hits the ground running. As this young girl runs around a very prickly woodland area, she finds a gas station and pays a little visit. Station looks absolutely ransacked. Maybe it's the cat that did all of it. Cassie Sullivan here readies her rifle, but it seems to be clear. So she takes all the supplies that she needs. Suddenly she hears a voice begging for help. It's the American thing to do is ready your M4A1. She slowly opens the door with the gun's barrel and surprise.
Drop your weapon.
The most American greeting ever, people. Of course, with Cassie having the bigger gun, the goon lowers his revolver. Now it's Cassie's turn. He doesn't get that luxury, and Cassie wants to know what's in his other hand. But the drift claims his stomach might fall off. He tries to show her something shiny, but this spooks her enough to open fire. Turns out this shiny thing was just a cross. Cassie then misses the good old days of being a normal high school girl who attends parties. The place is holding a wild crowd, with Cassie and Liz gushing over boys like normal teen girls do. They share a tender goodbye, and then Cassie comes across this boy toy with a smolder on his face. She makes fun of his phone case for being pink, but pink is the manliest color in the world, so he defends it to his grave. He's just joshing. It's not his, but his sister's.
Nice phone case.
Speak of the devil, here's his sister calling now. Cassie proceeds to get home and gives the nod to her parents in their bedroom. Then she goes to what I assume to be her younger brother, and he wakes up and demands a sweet lullaby from Cassie. She begins to monologue that it was the last normal day of her life. The next day at school comes, and it's time for football practice. Liz wanted to show Cassie something, but their egghead gym coach butts in.
Look, it's really weird.
And makes Liz sashay away, missing her chance to show Cassie whatever she wanted to show her. Soon people begin to flock to their phones, and the news busts out. Well, the news. Looks like we have a giant UFO hovering over Ohio. Sam, Cassie's little brother's excited to check out this UFO because they're in Ohio, and oh boy, well, it seems like a normal day in Ohio. People panic a bit and they give it a name, The Others. How creative. Names aside though, people visibly are packing up their stuff, but Cassie and her family stay. It's another happy day at school. Jeez, only a few students left. The class starts off with old boring math, but thank God, something causes a huge EMP, making electronics in the vicinity go offline, including this horrible CGI plane deserving a crash. Apparently, this attack affected the whole globe, and all Cassie really cares about is her last look at this pink phone case pretty boy, Ben Parrish. She assumes he's perished? Come on, who wrote that? According to Cassie, this was the first wave of attacks. So we see Cassie and Sam here getting water from the river. But here comes the second wave, an earthquake. The woods begin falling apart, so they ditch the wart wagon and make a run for it.
Keep your head down, okay?
They get back empty-handed but safely, and it's not over yet. Now, a huge wave of river water starts pouring in, so the two siblings make a run for it, heading for the trees and climbing to escape Davy Jones's locker. They're safe once again.
Go, Sam! Cassie, go!
But some people in cities near the ocean aren't so lucky, because everyone here went to that locker. Floods and tidal waves ravaged the world. Coastal cities sunk, and islands basically share the same fate as Atlantis. The aftermath, and Cassie goes for a bike ride. She monologues how the bird flu is one of the most lethal viruses in the world. The others notice this and they basically crank that virus up to an 11. This is what is known as the third wave, and thousands, possibly millions of people are affected. Now, a lot of them are held up in various quarantine zones. Cassie visits one of the zones to check up on her bestie, Liz.
Cassie!
Sadly, Cassie's mom works there and makes her strictly adhere to protocol. That means social distancing and a mask. Wow, they predicted that crap 6 years ago. She gets sent home and she tells us that a lot of people who got infected usually got promoted from human to skeleton. Only some survived, and sadly, Cassie's mom got that promotion. They lay her in the forest while the family grieves. After the funeral, Cassie packs up her stuff and helps her little brother put on his shoes. It's apparent Cassie has a disdain over these alien visitors.
You can't wear those shoes.
So she wants to know what they want. Her father says it's simple: Earth.
Earth.
Afterwards, they head out, starting their long walk on the desolate streets of Ohio. Cassie and Sam's dad say they're going to walk for a few miles, their destination being a refugee camp. After a little time skip, they reach the camp, and it's full of people, jackets, tents, supplies, you name it. They get shown around and get settled. Sammy draws, while Cassie gets taken to the side by her dad. Her dad basically gives her the rundown of his Colt 45 ACPM 1911. He's essentially telling her to go commit a crime with these instructions, since the world's going through a dumpster fire. So he gives her the most American gift of all time, and Cassie accepts the gun and walks away.
That's loaded.
Another day comes, and the kids are all plucking out weeds. Suddenly, something comes by the camp, so the people come by to watch what's entering their safe zone. Lo and behold, it's the military, with vehicles and guns. They surround the place with their convoy and this school bus. Meet Colonel Vosh, the Captain Price-looking dude with the megaphone. The army says they're here to help evacuate him out of there, so people are cheering. All the youngins go to the school bus, while all the wrinkly meat sacks are instructed to the mess hall for a briefing.
We're here to help.
Cassie's dad ignores it and escorts the kids to the school bus, but he's not allowed. The colonel steps in, and basically the plan is to evacuate the kids first to the Wright-Patterson base and then come back for the others. He believes there's something dangerous nearby and guarantees that the base is the safest place around. Cassie's against the idea of splitting up, but Dad follows the military orders, and he says they'll have dinner later on when they meet back at base. They load up. But Sam the brat forgets his little teddy bear, so Cassie's forced to look for it. She runs back to camp, but the buses begin rolling, and Cassie is left behind. And this is why we need contraception. In the mess hall filled with raggedy adults, the colonel breaks the news of the fourth wave starting. Apparently, the sussy aliens are now moving among us. Thanks to their disgusting ability, they can take human hosts. Could be you, could be me, could be this guy pulling out his piece. The colonel says the kids are easy to scan for any imposters, but adults are way more complicated. Of course, this whole meeting causes quite the commotion. Then it turns into a regular American school. Guns blasting everywhere. Military opens fire, even if they don't want to. And Cassie makes a run for it, and she's haunted by the noises of gunfire and the fact that her dad was in there. The military leaves, and Cassie goes back to check the bodies, and
Dad?
this is really going to tick off the mortician. The building is full of lifeless bodies, and Cassie finally finds her father, a lifeless husk. Good news though, free M4. So we're back to where the movie began, and Cassie is in utter shock of what happened to her father. Hours pass, and the school buses arrive at the Wright-Patterson base. It's full of hangars, helicopters, and scattered people. The buses stop and the children disembark. Each brat is given a numbered dog tag.
295.
And they're asked to wait in an orderly fashion until their number's called. Hey look, it's Ben. He gets taken inside and he's medically assessed. Apparently, everyone he's related to and been close with has been promoted to skeletons. Apparently, the kids are being tagged by these syringes, and they're being conscripted into the army to fight the aliens. This lady offers Ben the chance of a lifetime to see the alien known as the others. That's just a child, right?
Look.
Wrong. Looking through his high-tech scope, it's actually a parasite living in the skull of this kid. Army lady says whoever gets infected is basically already game ended, so the lady forces him to push the button and let the sparks fly on these outer space freaks. Ben pushes it and is welcomed to the lady's squad. Going back to Cassie, writing down the memoirs of her apocalyptic thoughts. In this specific note, she's noticing how the aliens are basically taking out the weak ones first. Then they start picking off the strong one by one. On one of Cassie's treks, she spots a small alien craft, and she tells herself that since aliens are parasites that can take over people's bodies, you can't trust anyone. Sometime in the night, Cassie etches CS on her pistol. Cassie prepares herself the next morning for the journey of 80 miles to that Wright-Patterson base. Once again, we get the same gas station scene, and you know the rest. Writing in her diary, like an alien apocalyptic-ridden Anne Frank, while making her way to this highway the next day. Now the place is nothing but mostly abandoned cars, and a few bodies here and there. There's a freshly lit SIG, so something attacked these people. Cassie gets shot and takes cover under the truck. She's composed herself enough to stand and ends up wasting a few rounds, taking a tumble to the grass. Back at base, Ben and the other chosen recruits get briefed by the colonel, and he tells this ravishing speech of, "The world's ending, time to grow up," and he breaks the ice by saying that intel he has says that a fifth wave is coming to finish them all for good. The colonel, of course, isn't having any of this invasion, so he's getting kids trained in all sorts of combat exercises, while he's motivating them with the fires of their loss.
Can you do that?
And they're all getting riled up. Night has arrived, and Cassie finds herself medically treated in a nice bed. She hears someone coming and pretends to be asleep while this guy's checking up on her. Morning comes, and Cassie frees herself from that syringe and tries to find her gun. but the dude's coming back. Now the dude knows she's awake, so he introduces himself. This is Evan Walker. He's a good Samaritan of some sorts, as he saw Cassie pass out on the highway and took her back to his place and nursed her.
Don't touch me!
Might want to check on that nurse part, Chief, cause her leg is beginning to act up. Evan brings her to the bathroom and painfully patches her up. She's been in this house for a week now, and it's 60 miles away from Wright-Patterson. He gives her some food and reveals that he saved her because he couldn't save his family. At this military base 60 miles away now, some cadets are gossiping about a new recruit coming in with disciplinary issues. Ringer, the infamous delinquent cadet, makes her way to her new bunk.
You zombie?
She gets over to Zombie Ben and makes it clear that it's not just a phase, so she won't be a dog following orders. The other squad members eyeball her assets, but she's noticing this and promises to rip anyone's throats out if they feel her up. Right on. At Evan's place, Cassie places up a map, routing to Wright-Patterson Air Base, and she notices Evan chopping wood outside. Of course, she does the sensible thing and invades his privacy by going to his room. There, she finds some personal memorabilia and this creaky floorboard. Surprise! Looks like Evan lied about her gun, so it's panic time. She quickly packs up and leaves post-haste. She trips on a primitive alarm, and Evan catches up to her. He holds her down, tells her to be quiet, as an alien craft soars nearby, while this guy with a sniper rifle's on the prowl. They get back to the house and Cassie confronts Evan about lying. Turns out he did it because he wasn't sure if Cassie was one of the aliens. Not a bad reason, to be honest. He says that the dude with the sniper rifle's infected with an alien parasite, and those small crafts are drones patrolling the area. Well, Cassie wants her brother back, but Evan warns her that her brother might already be in an early grave, thanks to the military bases being obvious targets. Cassie's still adamant to go, so Evan wants to go with her. They get into an argument about it. Then it's revealed Evan read her diary, so he gets a good old slap. That's what you get for reading a girl's diary. He apologizes and says he'll get her to the base, and they'll leave in the morning. Speaking of bases, Ringer here can't shut up about berating Ben and his team. She's generalizing Ben's whole life from his looks, but she's coming off as real edgy.
You don't know anything about me.
It's sparring time, and they have a deal. If Ben takes her down, they get gun lessons. If he fails, he stops asking. It would be the case, but looks like Ringer takes him down, and so does Ben. Back to Cassie and Evan. She wants to know that gun disarming technique. At first, he's hesitant, but he eventually gives in to teaching her. She learns pretty fast.
I promise, Sam.
And speaking of learning, over here they're doing the same with instructor Ringer around. They're at a shooting range, and all the kids are practicing their accuracy with a Beretta M9. Soon the military lady calls Ben in and says the colonel wants to see him. He goes to him in front of a mapping screen, and then Sabretooth says that there's been a series of attacks that has hit the metropolitan areas.
You look at the enemy through this.
The colonel then shows him the new helmets that can detect these alien buggers, but they need to test it. 4 squads will be sent out tomorrow in live battle. And guess what? Ben's squad is part of that sortie. Cassie, on the other hand, wakes up and gets a female gaze at Evan while he's taking a bath. He spots her, but she scurries away. Eventually, he finishes that bath and Cassie is taking a look at her memorabilia. Evan joins her.
Yeah. Actually, she was...
And he recognizes some of the people thanks to him reading her journal. Well, looks like they're even now, so they get moving. And while they're moving, they talk about their past lives. Then they come across this old abandoned car in the bushes. Nighttime. Wright-Patterson Base. Sam's scared about their upcoming mission, and Ben just tells him to sleep. Much to the discomfort of the other squad mates, they sing a lullaby.
Could you guys please shut up?
And going back to the abandoned car now, Evan's helping Cassie apply a new bandage to that gunshot wound on the leg. He's very delicate with it. And then a storm thunders in. Kissing is their first priority, and they lay Mad Pipe in the car. Now it's early morning, and Ben's squad, Squad 53, mobilizes to their assigned Huey helicopter.
Zombie!
They strap in, looking like Ben has restrained Sam back in the squad's bathroom for his own safety. The squad's bird reaches the town perimeter, so they get quickly briefed on that mission. Reach the town, find the enemy and the nest, and waste them all. They snap on the visors and the chopper lands. Take no prisoners, comrades. They quietly walk the streets, scanning for enemies.
Holy shit, it's working!
2 of them are found, so Ringer opens fire. The place begins to swarm with alien freaks, and they keep moving to cover. They're covering each other, and one by one, they take cover in an abandoned bus. The aliens begin to surround them, and then one gets shot. Suddenly, the aliens hide. Now they take this chance to look for a more fortified place.
Now cover me!
And Ringer offers a distraction to these alien freakazoids. The team covers her so she can prepare for this grand distraction, and she gives them the signal to turn while chucking a grenade into the bus's fuel tank. They flee the scene and make it to this abandoned building. Ringer's tailing them back and they're safe for now. Ringer says the war doesn't make any sense because they can cause global catastrophes but are also afraid of an army of children.
None of this makes sense.
There's something the military's not disclosing, so Ringer takes her tracker off. Suddenly, she goes green on the visors, so they all think she's alien, and they aim at her. Ben then takes a tracker off and he also appears as an alien. The lenses and trackers are all fake, and Ben realizes the real aliens are already at the helm of the army. Only one thing left to do, go AWOL, except Sam's left at the base. So Ben feels responsible for leaving him and decides to go back on his own. This needs some realism.
We are the fifth wave.
So he asks his teammates to give him one shot without ending his life. Meanwhile, Cassie's fast asleep, but Evan hears something coming, and they open fire on him. He lives, but he tells Cassie to run. She gets her gun, but sadly it's too late for Evan. Cassie fights her way out, and Evan is still alive, as he's fighting off attackers with furious fervor. This makes Cassie sus of him, so Evan's confessing that he's an alien-human hybrid. He was created as a sleeper agent, but he suddenly had a change of heart thanks to Cassie. It's great. Apparently, he's also the one that actually saved Cassie from another dude sniping her. Thank the Lord above for the power of love. Of course, Cassie believes in her kind and the power of not lazy writing, so she wants to go solo. Evan reveals that the army's preparing the kids to end off the last human, which confirms Ben's speculation. Speaking of Ben, he gets rescued and is taken back. Cassie gets to the base through a bus, and then she gets medically inspected and syringed. They give her the same rundown with Ben, but Cassie isn't buying it, and she chokes that army lady. She eventually bonks Resnick's head, then rips out her implant and takes her clothes. Ben gets debriefed, and immediately the Colonel is already sus of him. Colonel confesses that he's one of them,
Let's make a deal.
and that they're doing it for a very violent and complicated real estate plan. Suddenly, reports come in of an attack from inside the base, and then Ben gets taken away, which he quickly escapes. Cassie's also trying to look for Sam, but she eventually encounters Ben. They join together to find Sam before the army deploys him. They get cornered, but Evan comes to rescue him, and he claims that he's the one planting bombs to finally rid this place.
I've been planting bombs.
Of course, the obligatory kissing scene, and then they get back to finding Sam, while Evan commits a second 7-Eleven. They eventually find Sam in a crowd, and continue their loving reunion in the closet, while Ben takes his tracker out. While escaping out in the airfield, they see Vosh escape, but they get shot at. Suddenly, the earth bursts, and the entire base crumbles, so they make a run for it. Squad 52 in a Humvee rescues them, and the base is kaput. Eventually, they all camp out, while Ben and Cassie get all chummy together. Cassie says they have to save the other kids,
Right, to save those other kids.
but they'll plan that later, after they eat. Cassie then monologues about some humanity crud, and you know the rest. Boots up, soldier, because that's it for the fifth wave. What'd you guys think about this alien imposter movie? Let us know in the comments below using that hashtag #CinemaRecap. This was The Fifth Wave by Columbia Pictures, starring Chloe Grace Moretz, Micah Monroe, and Liev Schreiber. Until we get those other kids back, farewell.